So there were some crazy out of bounds calls that seemed to be complete anomalies. But were they? Let's talk about what the tour can do to prevent this. I've noticed that about 93% of you aren't subscribed, but you are watching my videos. So if you like this content, make sure to subscribe. All right, so it is pretty obvious that these events were pretty outrageous. I do not think they'll happen again, but it is certainly important to note that these could happen again. And I would like to go over each event and figure out why it happened and why we can do something to prevent it. All right, so starting off with the least important one, gotta be hole 17, Paul McBeth. He was not necessarily in the best contention, but if he did birdie, he could have actually won this event. He would have been right at 31 under, and that would have actually gone to playoff holes. So this is certainly not a nothing burger. So on hole 17, we can clearly see that there's geese chilling about on the entire fairway. And I would say that it was pretty obvious to everyone watching, to my wife watching, who doesn't even like disc golf. And my wife brought up a good suggestion. Why don't they just shoo them off the course? Like, this is a professional course. They don't need to be there on the biggest throw of this guy's entire tournament. And what do you know? Paul McBeth would actually hit one of those geese, leaving him about like 120 footer instead of potentially like middle circle 2 putt, which he could definitely make. That would definitely have changed the trajectory of his round potentially. He still probably would have gone out of bounds with the crazy wind of hole 18. But that is just an important note to say that there is a lot of room for improvement here. We have the ability to shoo away geese. It's not that crazy. And we can certainly make these changes to just make it more fair for every player so that everyone gets the same experience. Obviously, you can't change anything about the wind, but this is nothing to do with any weather conditions. This is nothing to do with a cart path or anything like that. It is just a fairway that has animals, so you have to just shoo them away or figure out some way that they are not on the fairway. Next up, it has to be AB getting totally hosed on hole 10. So looking at this drive, it was moving. Obviously, AB has some amazing power. He was probably getting about 500 on that drive. But with this crazy happenstance, the spotter / rangefinder guy hits the disc. It goes out of bounds, or hazard. Not only does AB lose a stroke, but he also loses about 100 feet of distance. And this is entirely preventable. There is no reason why we need the filmer or rangefinder guy to be anywhere close to the drive. We know that these players are elite levels. They have a great accuracy. They hit it super hard and far. So why would you be anywhere close to where they could end up driving? This could be on the onus of Disc Golf Pro Tour. This could be Jomez. This could be just the volunteer thought it was a good spot. But ultimately, it cannot happen again because it totally ruined any chances that AB had of winning this event. He could have maybe clutched up and like birdied the rest of the round and maybe won, but I don't even think that was possible. So we really have to work on a good mechanism to prevent any spotter interference, any filmer interference. It is just truly unfair, and it makes for a very infuriating watching experience. And next up, I would say probably the most influential of the entire interference calls was hole 9 final round for Catrina Allen. She was in a great spot, so she wasn't necessarily on the hottest of streaks, but she still had a pretty good lead and it looks like she was going to win. But what do you know? A random golf cart is in the entire path of OB, and her disc hyzers back into play, well, would have been back into play, but hits the golf cart and remains out of bounds. This is just totally ridiculous. I heard some comments saying this was a lead card throwing on 10, but whatever it is, it just should not happen, and there should be officials that allow you to throw or allow you to be like, hey, you're in the clear, you don't have to worry about your drive, because having so many players, so many spectators, so many golf carts just in the player's path cannot be a common occurrence. There has to be ways to prevent this, because in disc golf, everything can potentially be part of your play. You can have rollers that go crazy out of bounds and then roll back in. This is all possible, and we need to have extreme safeguards to prevent this from happening. And along with that, we have crazy instances where spotters or even spectators are watching and they get hit with a disc. That is just something that we cannot allow in the sport. I've often thought about what would happen if I got hit with a disc. It would be extremely painful and potentially cause like concussions. These discs are going extremely fast and they have a lot of momentum behind them. So we have to have safeguards to prevent this. My very last point is something that probably isn't talked about all that much because Catrina won, but that is the notion of foot fault. I think it is very evident that people are foot faulting. They're having putts where they seemingly jump putt and throw the disc after they've already jumped, and it's just kind of like, well, that's obviously a foot fault. There's so many occurrences like this, and it's just another reason why we need an official to patrol putts, patrol the fair way to make sure there's no interference. We need some way to ensure that fair play is being had, because obviously no players are going to call foot faults. It is just not good for vibes. People will obviously hate you. So we need to have some unbiased party. And I really think that having an official would be a great impact on the sport. So with that said, going from golf carts to spotters to geese, foot faulting, but I think there's a lot of improvement that the tour can obviously make. This sport is growing so rapidly, and to see so many things just look amateur is just a real bummer. Like, we have so much room to improve, and I really want the Pro Tour to do these things, and Jomez, because they're working hand in hand. And I know you might just say, oh, it's just like the golf courses that have these issues. This isn't commonplace for the other courses, but I would say it is very possible. For any wooded course, you might have instances where it is just totally blind for 500 feet, and then you have like a dogleg left, and it might have implications for when you're trying to clear the pathway. So having some unbiased party watching that would be a great impact on the sport. But that's just my thoughts. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe. Wild Runs signing out. Peace.